Okay, so like I was saying, we're not doing benchmark this week. We're going to be talking about elections and who can be presidents and more of just the general topics that go around elections. You have slides shared with you in Otis. It's called Election Time. And each one, they're broken down into 3 days, just like we do with benchmark, day 1, day 2, day 3. The difference is that your reading passages are here also. So when we've done benchmark, you've had your reading passage in that benchmark reader where you can read it. On this, we're going to be reading off of our screens. So it's okay if you go ahead and open yours up too, or you can look at mine. I'll zoom in as much as I can here so you can hopefully see it pretty clearly, okay? But so kind of to go through the 3 days, day 1 is talking about who can become president. So what the requirements are to be president. Day 2 is what does the president do? What is their job? What is it that they do exactly? And then the 3rd day is going to be who can vote for president. So it's changed throughout the years. This is one thing that we've talked about a little bit, where women used to not be able to vote, but then thanks to suffrage, women have gained the right to vote. African Americans used to not be able to vote, but we have amendments and these changes to the constitutions that have been able to change who can vote. So, but today we are back up here to who can become president. Okay, let me open up my little chat here. Oh, Landon, I'm not quite sure what you just sent me in the chat.
My foot accidentally hit a bunch of random things.
Your foot hit your keyboard? What's
Yep.
going on? How are you sitting that your foot is hitting your keyboard? That won't happen in the classroom. Okay. I'm going to read this introduction part and then we'll let you guys go ahead and take on some reading. And this actually comes from the Constitution. It says it's from the United States Constitution. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 5. So just the different parts to the Constitution, the way it's broken down. So it says, no person except a natural born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. So that's the exact language from the Constitution of what the requirements are if somebody wants to become a president of the United States. Okay. Emily, it looks like you're up first to read.
Many people dream of becoming president of the United States, but not everybody has what it takes to hold this high office. The United States Constitution sets the rules for who can become president.
Okay, so the Constitution sets the rules for who can be president. Miguel, tell us about age.
Okay, age. According to the Constitution, a person must have attained to the age of 35 years to become president. This means that no one younger than 35 years old can become president. The writers of the Constitution hoped that by waiting until they were at least 35, presidential candidates will be wise and show good judgment.
Good. So you have to be at least 35 years old to be president. Can you be more than 35?
Yes.
Yes. 35 is just the minimum age in order for you to be president. What do you think? It says that that they thought that by the age of 35, you would be wise and show good judgment. Do you think that before you're 35, you're not always wise and show good judgment?
Yeah, when you're 30, you can still be
a little reckless, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're hoping that by 35, people are more mature And that would be a good age where someone could then, think about becoming president of the United States. Morgan, you're up next. Tell us about Theodore Roosevelt.
Theodore Roosevelt was the youngest person to become president. Roosevelt was the vice president under William McKinley in 1901. He became president at the age of 42 after McKinley was killed. The youngest person ever elected president was John F. Kennedy. He was 43 years old when he was elected in 1960. The oldest president ever elected was Donald Trump. He was 70 years old when he was elected in 2016. When Trump ran for re-election in 2020, he was 74 years old. His opponent, Joe Biden, was 77 years old.
Good. So we're going to set a new record this year, right? We're going to set a new record for having the oldest president that we've ever had, because if in 2016 Donald Trump set that record, but now they're both older, both Biden and Trump are older. So we're going to have our oldest president we've ever had after this year's election. Kind of neat. And then our youngest presidents were 42 and 43. So we haven't had a president who's 35, even though that's the age where it's okay for them to become president. They've all been older than that. All right. Morgan, tell us about citizenship. Whoops.
Citizenship. To be a president, a candidate must be
Let me get back up to the top here. There we go.
a natural-born citizen of the United States. The Constitution does not explain what makes a person a natural-born citizen. However, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that a natural-born citizen is a person who was born in the United States. In 1898, the court also ruled that a person who was born outside the United States to parents who are U.S. citizens is also a natural-born citizen.
Good. So according to this one, you have to have been born in the United States to be president of the United States. Okay. You have to have been born in the United States in order to be president. Just curious, and if you don't want to share, that's okay, but is anybody in our class, were they born outside of the United States?
My mom.
Okay, some people's parents were.
Sister was
Okay.
born in Italy.
I think so.
So was that you, Morgan, that said your sister was born in Italy?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the tricky part. She can still be president, okay? Because there's that part that changed in 1898. As long as your mom and dad were both U.S. citizens, it's okay if she was born outside the United States. But if your parents are not U.S. citizens, let's say that you're from, I don't know, you're from Ireland. You were born in Ireland, your parents are Irish, and then you come and you move to the United States. You cannot become the president because your parents were not U.S. citizens and you were not born in the United States. So you will never be able
Your parents have to be.
What
What about
What if you weren't born in the United States and one of your parents weren't born in the United States?
Ooh, well,
You
and
have to be born in the U.S.
person who's born to parents, that's a good question. I don't know if it's one or both. And it doesn't say that your parents have to have been born in the United States. What it's saying is that your parents have to be U.S. citizens, because you can move to the United States and become a U.S. citizen. And then maybe you're back visiting home where you came from and you have your baby while you're visiting home. Then that baby can still become president. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's one parent or both parents. That's an interesting question.
Ms. Triplet,
Yes.
does the U.S. citizen thing also count for mayor, head official, and vice
They
president?
all have different requirements. They all have different ages. They all have different terms. So I don't believe it counts for mayor. I'm not sure about governor. I don't think it counts for governor, actually, because Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor, and I don't think he was born in the United States.
Okay. Oh, by the way, Spencer's raising his hand.
Go ahead, Spencer.
Oh, my question was just if your parents had to be born in the United States.
Okay. Yep. Nope. They don't have to be born in the United States, but they need to be U.S. citizens.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Residency. Let's keep reading. Anna.
The U.S. Constitution lists one more requirement to become president. The candidate must have been 14 years a resident within the United States. This means that a person can only become president if he or she has lived in the United States for at least 14 years. The Constitution does not say whether these years have to be
Consecutive.
or all in a row.
Good. So I like that. There's a good context clue right there, right? It's actually called apathy, not apathy, and a positive. But whether they have to be consecutive, and if we're not sure what consecutive means, it means all in a row. Okay. But in order to be the president, you have to have been 14 years a resident within the United States. So if you're born in the United States, but then your parents move with you to Germany and you live in Germany, and maybe you lived in the United States till you were 1, so that's only 1 year in the United States. You'd have to move back to the United States for at least 13 more years before you could become a president. Okay, and this is where it's saying, so it doesn't say whether they have to be in a row. Like, let's say I lived in the United States till I was 5, and then I moved to Canada, and then I want to become president. So what, do I have to come back and live 14 years or just 9 years? Just 9, because it doesn't say they have to be all in a row. You can break up those 14 years. But you have to have been in the United States for at least 14 years in order to run for president. And here is why. Oh, I've run out of volunteers. Somebody else want to volunteer to read that has not read?
I will.
Okay, send me the message so I can call names, please. All right, Camden.
Okay, which one are we starting on?
By requiring presidents.
By requiring presidents to be a citizen and residents of the United States, the writer of the Constitution hoped that presidents would be loyal to the United States. They wanted to be sure that presidents were attached to the United States and understood the people and needs of the nation.
Good. So they wanted to make sure that the person was connected to the United States. So apparently somebody came up with 14 years is the magic number to make you feel loyal to the United States. I wonder where they came up with that random number, 14. But 14 years, that way they're loyal to the United States and they know what's going on in the United States and they understand the people that live here and the needs that people in the United States have. All right, Jaslyn, give us term limits.
Oops, I was muted. Before 1951, a person could be elected president many times. In 1951, the 22nd Amendment of the U.S. Constitution limited the number of times a person could serve as president to 2 terms. Before the 22nd Amendment was passed, several presidents ran for re-election to a 3rd term. The only president who was elected for more than 2 terms was Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was elected 4 times. Roosevelt died during his 4th term as president. After the death of President Roosevelt, the 22nd Amendment was passed, limiting presidents to 2 terms.
Good. How many years are in a term? How long does each president?
4.
4 years.
4 years.
Yes, 4 years. So 8 years is the max that a person can be president, because they can be president for 2 terms, and each term is 4 years. But FDR, he was elected 4 times. If he had lived for all of those, he would have been president for 16 years. That's a long time. 16 years as the president.
What did he do that made everybody want him to be president?
That's a good question. We might have to do some research on FDR, because I'm not even sure what it was that was so popular about him. What was I? Oh, but an interesting thing to look at, and maybe I'll try and find some of these to show you guys, but being the president is a really hard job. Like, I'm sure some of your parents have hard jobs. You know, people sometimes say teaching is a hard job. Oh, I could never be a teacher. But being president is super hard, okay? Because you're dealing with the money for the whole United States. You're dealing with the military, and you're making decisions about whether or not to go to war or not go to war. You're making decisions about medical needs. You're making decisions about everything all the time. So it's really interesting to look at pictures of presidents, like right when they very first started being president to when their terms ended. And you can see a big difference. They just grow old really fast. They really age quickly. It's just something, a little sidebar, something interesting to look at is just those change in pictures from when people were elected president to when their term ends. Carter, I see your hand up.
Did you know a teddy bear was actually named after the President Ted Roosevelt?
Theodore Roosevelt, yep.
Yes. It happened when he was going on a hunting trip, and he didn't want to shoot this bear, so everybody made fun of him and started calling him Teddy Bear.
I love it. I love that kind of history. Jaslyn, I see your hand is up.
What's it called? My stepmom says that you guys should get a award or a medal because
he's gonna talk to Miss Susan because he says he doesn't have a lunch. So I'm like, go check with her.
Because
about a lunch.
Some people can't even take care of one kid, yet you're taking care of like around 30 of them.
I love it. She's a smart woman. All right. So that's all of the reading passage. I wanted to show you guys this. I love these. These are called infographics. Infographics. It's a page that has information and pictures to go with a topic. And I put 2 or 3 of those into this presentation because you guys will at some point be creating your own infographics when you come back to class. We like to do them in social studies. So I wanted you to kind of see some and start being able to think about when I say infographic, what I mean. So you can see the title up top, Who Can Be President? They tell us that 35 is the minimum age to be elected president. Some little interesting facts. Which state has produced the most presidents? Virginia. Virginia is responsible for 8 presidents. How old were the presidents? Let's see, the youngest was 42 years old. Oh, this says the oldest was 77, which is Ronald Reagan. The average age is 54. Natural born United States citizen, you must be a US citizen from birth to be the president. And the 14 years of residency, you must have lived in the US for at least 14 years to be president. All right, if you haven't opened up these slides yet, I'm gonna give you a minute to go to Otis and open them up because we're gonna talk through these situations and fill them out together as a whole class. So I'm gonna give you guys a minute here to go ahead and find your slides. While you're finding them, I'm going to go ahead and read the directions on this first activity page. and it says, read the description of each person below. Do they meet the requirements to become President of the United States? Write yes or no to tell whether they could run for president. If they are not eligible to be president, tell why not. So Landon, do you want to read the first one for us?
Sure. I am a 49-year-old man. I am a lawyer. I was born in the United States but moved to France.
Oh, we lost you, Landon.
Muted.
Are you there, Landon? All right, but so I'm going to finish this up. I was born in the United States, but moved to France when I was 5. I moved back to the United States last year and want to run for president. In the chat, don't shout it out. In the chat, tell me yes or no. Can this man be president? Just give me your yes or your no in the chat.
One question. Can they both be the same answer? Or is one yes and one's going to be no?
There's 4 of them. There's just a variety of answers.
Okay. Just saying. With those 2 people, can they both be the same answer?
They could be, or they could not be.
Okay. Hey, is Oklahoma in the United States?
I'm looking for a yes or no in the chat right now as to whether or not this gentleman can be president. Oh, good. I see most of you are on the right track. Can he run for president? Oops, I'm on the wrong thing. Let me zoom back out there.
No.
Hang on. No, he cannot run for president. So in this box right here, I'm going to say no. Why can he not run for president?
Because he hasn't been a U.S. citizen for over 14 years.
Yeah.
Correct. He only lived in the United States until he was 5. And then he moved to France. And then he's been back for 1 more year. So how many years has he lived in the U.S.?
6.
6 years.
So how many more years does he need?
8.
8. Be that total of 14 years. So he needs to live in the U.S. for 8 more years. In order to run for president, he needs to be here for 8 more years. Diesel, is this a question about what we're talking about?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know my hand was up.
That's okay. And so this is the tricky part, because remember, it said that the Constitution wasn't clear if all 14 years had to be in a row or if they could be spread out. So he has the 5 plus the 1 means he's lived here for 6. So that's why he only needs 8 more. Ashlyn, go ahead and read us the next one.
I am a 36-year-old man. My parents were born in China, but I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I am a dentist and I want to run for president.
Yes or no in the chat. Let me know.
Miss Triplett?
Yes.
I have a question with this person because he's not saying if he, when he was born in the U.S., has he stayed in the U.S. or?
If it didn't say he moved away, I would say he stayed in the U.S.
Okay.
Is Oklahoma in the U.S.?
Yes. All right. So I see some no's. I see a no because his parents were born in China. But I don't think that that mattered, right? Where your parents were born, as long as you were born in the United States. The only part where the parents came into play is if you were born outside of the United States. But any person who was born in the United States is a natural born citizen. Okay. How about my other no's? Anybody want to explain why else they said no?
Well, at first I said no because it didn't say how long he was in, but then I realized he probably wasn't, so that's why.
Yeah, it doesn't say he moved away. So yes, he can run for president. He's 36, so he meets that 35 age requirement. Even though his parents were born in China, he was born in the United States, so he is a US citizen. And he's lived here for those 36 years, so he's met that 14-year requirement. So yes, he can run for president. I need somebody to read our 64-year-old woman.
I am a 64-year-old woman. I was born in the United States. I went to college in England, but have otherwise lived in the US my whole life. I am an architect and I want to run for president.
Okay. Yes or no? Send it to me in the chat. Can she be president? Yes, she can be president. She's 64, so she's old enough. She was born in the United States. She went to college in England, but that's maybe like 4 to 6 years. And she's 64, so she has lived here almost her whole life. Yeah, she meets those requirements. She can be the president. Morgan, read us our last one.
I am a 32-year-old woman. I was born in Ireland but moved to the US and became a citizen when I was a baby. I am a school teacher and was elected mayor of my town. Now I want to run for president.
All right, yes or no?
No, because she's too young.
Yeah, please. Good. Yep. I see lots of no's. She cannot. Why not? Well, because of her age. So she's too young. Is there any other reason why she can't other than her age?
No.
She was born in Ireland, but she wasn't born in the US.
Yeah, she was born in Ireland, and it doesn't say that her parents were US citizens. Because if her parents were US citizens, then she wouldn't have had to become a US citizen when she moved back. So she's.
But didn't she become?
What's that?
Yeah, when she was a baby, it says she.
Just because you become a US citizen doesn't make you a natural born US citizen.
Oh, okay.
So you have to be born in the US unless both of your parents are US citizens and you're born outside of the US. She's too young and she was born in Ireland, which is beautiful and amazing. And if you ever get the chance to go there, I highly recommend it.
What if one of the parents are dead?
But it says that she became a citizen when she was a baby, so.
Okay. And I understand that, I see that, but she still wasn't born in the US and her parents were not US citizens. So even if you become a US citizen, unfortunately, you're still not able to run for president. You have to have either been born in the United States, or if you were born outside of the United States, your parents need to be US citizens. Morgan, I see your hand is up.
I just put it up to read earlier.
Okay.
I forgot to take it down.
Okay. Diesel.
Would both of the parents have to be US citizens if one of them were dead?
Someone had asked that question earlier and I said, I'm not sure if it's one parent or both parents have to be US citizens.
Okay.
I will look into that.
Just a second ago, you said both parents.
I'm just saying her parents. Neither one, it doesn't say anything about her parents being US citizens, either one of them.
Okay, what if they divorce?
They're still her parents.
What if she didn't have a father and only a mother. Not because one died,
So
just
Diesel, we would have to do more research on a lot of this because I think we could come up with a whole lot of funky what if situations.
you know.
So
You know, honestly,
unfortunately, I am not an all-knowing expert. But if you want to do further research on the different cases like that, then you can do that, sir.
well, honestly, there's just. Oh, by the way, one, Hayden doesn't have his video on. Two, I just said Hayden thing because I just noticed it.
Okay, but
And three, this would be really confusing for Congress if, like, the person were an orphan, sort of like, her or his mother didn't have a husband, never ever did, and made a baby, but died when the baby was born. That would be very confusing.
it would be very confusing, and I think they'd have to do a lot of research to find out if the person's qualified or not. But we, sir, are going to move on to the next page.
No, I'm not saying we, I'm saying it would be hard for Congress to decide.
Yep. So the next page is asking you your opinion. What do you think? Are the qualifications fair? So do you think it is fair that you have to be 35, that you have to be born either in the United States or your parents need to be US citizens? Do you think it's fair that you have to have lived in the United States for 14 years? I think those are the main qualifications, right? Did I miss any? I don't think so. I think those are the three main qualifications. So what I will not accept here is just, yes, they are fair. No, they are not fair. Because it says explain why or why not. I'm looking for at least 3 sentences. And then down at the bottom, would you add or change any of the presidential qualifications? If so, what would you add and why? Which ones would you change and in what ways? So some of you seemed a little bothered by the lady who was born in Ireland because she became a US citizen, but she still couldn't run for president. So maybe that's something you would want to change. It's okay if you were born in another country as long as you have lived in the United States for X amount of years, okay? And you need to choose either something to add or something to change. I will not accept an answer of, I wouldn't add or change anything, okay? You could change the age. Maybe you think they should be older. Maybe you think they should be younger. Maybe they should live in the United States for more than 14 years in order to be president, okay? Maybe you want to add something else. I don't know what else you could add, but about where they live or what kind of jobs they've had. So these are your last 2 boxes to fill in for today.